Okay, we are recording. Jimmy, how you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm radiant and glowing actually. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. How was the bank holiday?
Busy for us.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, we did four. I think we did a show every night of the bank holiday in London. We did
Oh,
four.
right.
We did four in a row from Friday.
Oh, well,
So
you're
it
looking
was,
good on it, mate.
yeah, no, it was. I mean, I'm a bit tired, but it was all right. It wasn't too shabby. I reckon we could have done more.
Mm, okay. Well, look, before we get onto the playlist, I always like to just ask guests to cast their mind back a few months and just to talk about the weird couple of years that the touring stopped and the kind of interaction stopped and literally the world stopped. I just want to know how that period of time how that affects you both personally and creatively.
Well, personally, it was a bit of a sort of up and down, win and lose battle. Like, because I've got my girlfriend lives in California, so I've got like this long distance relationship, which had just basically started the year before COVID. But anyway, it turned out I made a good decision. But we tried to tour Asia, in like in the right when it was kicking off in March, I don't know, 2020, I think it was. So that was a bad idea. So we ended got as far as the Philippines. We played one show in Singapore, which was a disaster because it was like everyone was was really scared about the
Yeah.
pandemic. So people were just bailing left, right, and center. Anyway, and then yeah, I flew over to California, and then I got locked down with her for 7 months, and that which was great. And then I flew back here to start writing the new album, and then got locked down here for a year. So I didn't see her for a year. So that was kind of a weird
Yeah.
nightmarish. It was just like well, it was like everyone was experiencing just this sort of repetitive nightmare nature. It's like
Yeah.
it was like Groundhog Day where it was just miserable every
Yeah.
day. But I will say, like, so that was sort of yeah, I think everybody felt like that, and I'm sure everyone had the same had something that was pretty awful they had to go through.
Yeah. Totally.
But I did make a lot of music, and I guess like lots of solitude was quite good for me actually. It turns out I'm not that social.
So in regards to writing, like some of the new record, was that written sort of remotely, or did you just get into the studios quite
Uh,
quickly, or
yeah. Some of them are written remotely. Like Looking High. I started that one. That was written remotely. And same with Yanis. He had a few. We kind of brought like a few things together,
yeah,
but quite a few of the tunes were written on the spot, which was cool. Which
yeah,
I think gives it a kind of good energy. It doesn't have too
yeah,
much baggage. It's quite light. I
yeah,
feel like normally we're dragging like suitcases of old songs and riffs and God
yeah?
knows what from like years. We're just still desperate to put them in something. It's all like the unwanted children. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, look, let's kick off the playlist, and I'm going to ask you for track one, please. Can you tell
Yeah.
me the song that you regard as having the greatest ever intro, please?
Well, I don't know if it's the greatest ever intro, but certainly when I was a kid, I remember my dad listening to "Money for Nothing" by Dire Straits, and I don't really know about. I kind of got quickly bored of the rest of the song.
Hmm.
I think, but the intro, it's like I remember it in like my dad's car, the stereo. It was a bit like it reminded me of they used to do in cinemas the THX like surround
Yeah, yeah,
sound
yeah,
thing, which
yeah.
was just like kind of like terrifying when you were a kid.
Hmm.
So it was a bit like that. I found it a bit scary. Like the drums are like
Yeah,
enormous. Anyway, I think it's like a pretty sick intro. It goes into like some hardcore Dire Straits,
it does.
but I like it. I like the intro a lot.
It's it's so the production couldn't be any more 80s if it tried, could it? It's just everything's cranked to 11, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
I know. I think that's what's kind of fun about it. It's just like the pinnacle of like studio excess in a sense.
totally, but you do. I mean, before it kind of just goes into full on Dire Straits, you've got the obviously the big Sting vocal at the beginning,
Yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
that
That's wicked. That bit.
yeah, and that mad little sort of big drum rolls. But then you do get the money shot, don't you? You do get that little riff where it all just drops out, and you just get that little clean riff for like I don't know how many bars. But
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
a
It's kind
nice
of
little payoff, isn't it?
Well, it's cool. Also, I don't like. Maybe it's one of the first songs that did that. Like,
Mm,
like I guess, yeah. It's like doing this enormous build up into
yeah,
something absolutely tiny,
yeah,
but it's so satisfying. That's
yeah.
really cool. It's really hard to do that.
Mm,
Nowadays I'd probably like it to be like a massive bass line or something.
yeah.
That's what it would be these days.
Well, it's interesting because I want to ask you this then, and when you approach songwriting and the band approach songwriting, and essentially the intro, like because I imagine if most bands were to take money for nothing to a label now, you'd get laughed out the door by just saying, "Look, you can't have 3 minutes of this before that."
Oh yeah, yeah,
And so
definitely.
I just wonder, with the kind of changes in how people listen and attention spans getting shorter and such, like how much of that filters through into the songwriting process and essentially the intro with Foals.
Well, yeah, I mean it does. It's more and more actually. It's like I wish they'd just stop with it. It seems so anti-productive and counterintuitive for like a record industry to be like just making everything so short.
100%.
Like they're just sort of getting rid of like minutes and minutes and minutes of creativity. It's like why? It's like what's the end? What's the why? It's like
Mm,
I don't get it. Anyway, but they're hell bent on it,
mm.
and it's always it's just getting shorter and shorter. So I'd love to do a little graph of when we started like 17 years ago, like how long you were allowed to have.
Yeah,
It's probably like around 4 minutes. And now I think if you go into or like 5 minutes maybe was like an extraordinary
sure.
long single, but you could still do it. And then it's like nowadays it's like 3 minutes is pretty considered too long.
Which is
Uh,
ridiculous, isn't it?
yeah, it is. It's stupid. It's just stupid. I hate it. It's just dumbing everything down. It's like turning everything into like just children's television. It
Mm,
sucks. It's like where's the get rid of all the art? It's like I feel like there's a sort of anti sort of art movement at the moment. I don't
mm.
know. It's an undercurrent where it's just like, oh god. Anyway, but we try and keep that off as much as possible. We love intros and we love stretching stuff out. Which, if you ever see us live, you'll see us do
Mm.
that. You'll know if there's a song that's longer. That was probably its original length, and it
Mm.
got chopped down because the label said you need to lose blah blah minutes off this
Yeah,
to fit it onto one record. That was a thing actually. On this one, it was to fit it onto one vinyl.
yeah.
And then we were against it, obviously. And then we were like, well, actually, hang on, because like with the coming out of a pandemic, like no one's going to have any money, and it's just going to be like, why not? What the difference between like I don't know, like I actually don't know how much like just a single record would be these days, like 20 quid probably.
No, I
The
would say
difference
about 20 quid, yeah.
20 quid, and then like 30 quid being like the gatefold or something, and it's like that difference is massive,
Mm.
and it's like so that those kind of decisions I think are well informed. But usually the editing happens right at the end. Like we
Yeah,
leave it, and we don't really do it. We leave it to like whoever's mixing, or
yeah,
like we're like, can you please just edit it in a tasteful way,
yeah.
And
Okay,
we've done well. We've done well with that so far. I feel like.
wonderful. Well, I mean, hearing the new music, it definitely, to me, as somebody that's followed your career throughout, this definitely feels like more poppy than previous stuff that I've heard. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, but it's not a dirty word, pop.
No,
You
not
know.
at all. But I want to sort of play devil's advocate with what we've just spoke about, and saying how sort of taking the art out of music by shortening it and shortening it. Do you also think that there is a real kind of art in being able to craft a 2.5 minute perfect pop record?
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and that's like what we're after a little bit.
Yeah,
I've always said that, and we've always thought that. It's like, yeah, it's like, and also having both, like trying to
yeah,
you can have both. I don't get why
yeah,
everyone doesn't do that. It's
yeah,
crazy. It's just you can both feed the other, and it's like, yeah, it's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
yeah.
They're out there, there's like like Naive Melody, Talking Heads have got quite a few of them. There's so
Mm,
many, that's just one little. This the idea of like a perfectly like Dancing Queen, for example,
yeah,
would be my sort of holy grail.
yeah. That's
And
an
it's like,
intro.
yeah, that's an intro, exactly. And
Yeah,
it's just perfect. It's just flipping perfect. Listen to
yeah,
that song and be like, there's absolutely nothing I would do to that.
yeah,
It's like, and that's sort of well, but it's fun doing that. And that's what this
yeah.
album is a little bit, I guess.
That's the holy grail on it. If you've got them songs that you've just played hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, and every time you hear it, you just think there's nothing I can add to that. There's nothing there's
No,
no
I
gaps.
love
There's
it.
nothing, and that is rare, isn't it, to be able to get
I
that?
love it. There was one I heard the other day. I can't remember what it was now, but it was perfect. It's just
Yeah,
like I just cannot think of anything to do better to that.
yeah, love it.
Which is, and I think you do feel that in the studio. Not that we've ever seen, but like I'm sure that must be amazing. It's like you hear stories like recording Dancing Queen. You hear stories of like the girls coming in to do the vocals, and like the guys had already done like rough vocals,
Yeah,
guide vocals, and they were just like crying basically. They were like,
yeah,
oh my god, like like
yeah,
this is like gonna last forever. Yeah, it's
yeah.
amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, look, we're talking about older records, so let's get some nostalgia flowing here. For track
yeah.
2, Jimmy, the first song you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please, mate.
Yeah, well, that's Every Day by Buddy Holly.
Oh, it's a
Definitely.
beauty,
That's
isn't it?
like, it's a real beauty. And it's just like, I mean, that's a perfect song, I would
Yeah,
say, and it's so simple. And it's just like, I don't know. It reminds me of, again, like being in like the back of one of my parents' cars,
yeah,
just like, and it just like, I don't know, just like sounds a bit like a lullaby,
yeah,
and it's beautiful. It's so tender. And I don't know, it's full of meaning as well. Just
yeah,
like, but everybody can associate with the lyrics. It's just amazing, and it's
yeah,
just like the fact that I could listen to it when I was like 2 years old,
yeah,
and I could listen to it now, and it's have the same impact,
yeah,
and also there's no drums; it's just someone
yeah,
clapping. I just like I always forget that, and every time I hear it, I'm like, that's amazing. Like, how many
yeah,
other songs is that? Just and it's enough.
yeah.
You know,
What's the
it's like a
emotion?
perfect little ecosystem. That song,
That's a lovely way to describe
it,
it.
needs to be protected.
Yeah. If you pinpoint the emotion that you got from that.
Oh God, I don't know, like probably wonder,
Yeah,
or that's not even an emotion, but like just kind of like this sense of like a bigger world, and also just like the repetition, the art of
yeah,
repetition, the art of like the song, like hearing a song for the first time and being like, oh, like that bit repeated, and that's all it is, and
yeah,
it's just like the idea of this cycle, and it's like that's really effective, and sort of kind of hearing that for the first time, I guess, because I don't know what I would have listened to. I guess you don't when you don't understand music, you can't really
yeah.
hear it properly, right? So it's like before that, it all came together with Buddy Holly.
It's
But yeah, maybe even
this
sadness. There's elements of it's melancholy in there. I
massively.
probably when I was 2 or 3 years old, I didn't know what that was, but it's just
Yeah,
like already like just like, and then you hear it now, and it's actually quite a sad song.
yeah,
As you
yeah,
grow older, it gets sadder and sadder.
yeah. Totally.
Which is crazy.
It's so strange that so many guests on this podcast, when I ask them that question, their go-to memory is the back of their parents' car. And
Yeah,
it's like
yeah. Well,
so
it's
many
like
people's like musical like knowledge and where
well,
they
like,
sort of got their music was literally en route on holidays and things like that, just like
yeah, it's
consuming
like,
this.
well, my generation was like this: the tape, the
Mm,
CD and tape boom in the cars.
yeah,
It's just like boom time.
it's so
Yeah,
strange because I I never really sort of consider what my choices would be for these questions, and I've often thought about this one and musical memories when chatting to guests. And I've done like 400 of these shows now, Jimmy, and
wow.
it's so weird that you've just mentioned like that track because it literally just sparked something in my head that the first time I think I ever got moved by music was in the back of my parents' car. The first time I heard "True Love Waits" by Buddy Holly, and I
Oh
was like,
yeah,
sometimes we cry, and I was thinking, oh my god, this is really sad. And being so young, not and actually computing it, and
yeah.
it's as you say, as you get older, you start to process it and realise, God, that's even more harrowing than I initially thought it
I know,
was. Do you know
I
what
know. It's like pretty brutal when you
I
actually
mean? Yeah,
realize what you're singing about. Oh my
absolutely.
God, it's like it's just like we're basically sort of saying, might as well give up now.
Yeah, knock it on
Yeah.
the head. So where was growing up?
Growing up was with my mum and my sister outside of Henley-on-Thames, just like in the countryside, in a little
Nice.
tiny little village. Very, very small, innocent upbringing for a while, and then like moved closer to Oxford when I was like 10 years old, and then like a bigger school and all of that, and
Yeah,
way more influence from everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty sheltered for the
But
first
good,
10.
right? Happy?
Yeah, loved it. Yeah, amazing. Like, absolutely loved it. You know, what's not to love about that? You know,
Yeah.
it was safe. I had like two best friends living in this village, and I'd just go out on my bike we'd go to school together, we'd hang out, we'd go on our bikes all day out in the
Yeah.
countryside, no problems. You know, one of us would fall off occasionally, you know, and that was it really.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, they'd just literally bang the saucepan for dinner, and you know, it's like, it sounds insane now, but like, yeah, it was lovely, and I thank my mother for taking me away from a city or anything like that,
Yeah.
because it was lovely.
Was
You
it a
know, so I
musical
just
household?
yeah. My sister played piano. There was a piano. This one.
Nice.
My great. It's either great. I think it's great grandmother Jeannie Stefani from
Oh,
Italy.
wow.
That's her piano. Yeah. I got it restored. But that's the one. Yeah, that's the one I grew up with. Yeah. It's so
Wonderful.
nice. It's right behind me. Yeah. It's like the most important instrument. I think like nothing would have happened if it wasn't for
Yeah.
that. Which was just my mum just started putting it in the house, and it's like
Yeah.
you do just start plinking on it when you're a kid. And my sister's a couple of years older, so she got piano lessons, and you know, so it was like every night was her butchering like I think it was like the piano soundtrack,
Yeah.
something. It was like months. It was like 6 months till she got that into like decent shape. But then it was amazing, you know. And then
Yeah.
it's just like, and yeah, mum were like always. There's just always music. I think it was just cassettes, you know, and like
Yeah.
just it's just like every music was so portable, you know. It was like, you know, I remember walking around the house just listening to like the Lion King soundtrack
Yeah.
constantly, just all day, you know. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, so there was a lot of music. Yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, let's stay in the formative years for the next track. And can you tell me, please, Jimmy, the song that reminds you of your time at school?
Oh yeah. Well, I had to. It was difficult because I had to pick a time at school.
Oh, you can have some honourable mentions. If there's some other times that you want to get some shout outs in, then you can as well.
All right. Yeah, I will. I'll slip a couple in for this one so I don't offend anyone. But I would say, well, yeah. So this is going back to what must have been like 12, 13, 12, 13. Anyway, it's Paradise City by Guns N' Roses. And I mean, it was the first album I ever owned because my sister got it for me from Boots or Smiths or whatever. And she only got it because it said like parental advisory on it. She thought it was cool. She thought I'd appreciate it, which I did. I was like,
Yeah.
this is the coolest thing I've ever seen
Yeah.
or heard. You know, it was so like badass. And then I remember there was just a picture and the Appetite for Destruction inlay of them just all with like bandanas and aviators, like leaning on like a Budweiser keg.
Yeah.
And it looks ridiculous now. You know, it's like, oh, but at the time it was like unreal. Anyway, and then this song is just great because it's just like one big sort of build up to this one bit where the whistle blows and it goes ape shit. And it's wicked. It's so simple. It's pretty, you know, dumbass in a way, but like I still love Slash as a guitar player. I think he's absolutely amazing, and it's like some of the rhythms he plays, like the counter rhythms, just all that stuff is like I just soaked it up because it's just never heard anything like it. There's one bit in it where he switches the rhythm on the riff he's playing, and it's just crazy. You know, it's like, what are you doing? Anyway, and there was one time on like the school bus where like we always used to play it. We had a really cool bus driver called Ratty who used to just chain smoke cigarettes, and I'm sure he's probably dead now. I mean, he wasn't far from it. That like 20 years ago, whenever that was, probably longer. No, yeah. Oh God, yeah, longer. Anyway, yeah, and we all like we waited for the whistle bit, and then we all went absolutely ballistic on the school bus, and like the whole thing nearly rolled over, and like Ratty went ape shit again. I don't know. It's just really cool, really exciting. Used to sort of dream about like this place, like LA, and like, you know, the Troubadour and all this crazy hair metal stuff that was going on. Like, well, you know, that was all earlier than when I heard it, but like, it's amazing. Yeah, it's like music from another land.
I think it's really weird. I think like Guns N' Roses get a bit of a tough rap in some respects because I think they get sort of thrown in with your Poisons and your Motley Crues and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I think obviously when
bollocks,
it is like,
like
they
so
weren't
much
like
better
that.
songwriters.
Yeah,
they've got like genuinely great songs. Like, they don't have to be played like heavy.
Yeah,
and I reckon like if they'd broken up after Appetite for Destruction, they would have been like one of the most revered bands of all time.
Yeah,
like that's a
great
album.
shout. That would definitely have been the case.
it's like, I think just because they were, I mean, they dressed like everybody else. I mean, I thought they were a bit cooler looking actually, but like, you know, they were definitely the best songwriters out of all
Yeah.
that lot.
Yeah.
You know, almost as good as Iron Maiden, who would get the honourable mention.
Oh, okay. Go on, pick a track.
Oh man, Fear of the Dark. It'll have to go.
Nice.
No, it's a bit. That's the only one I can pull right out there. I mean, there's some deep cuts, which if only I could remember their names. But yeah, so there was that. That was a tiny bit later, but that was like the British equivalent.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. That was cool. That was kind of funnier though in a way. It was all like, it was a different vibe.
Yeah.
It's like,
but it was surely as a kid though, and you look at like Eddie and all the covers and that, it was like super exciting as a kid, isn't it?
Yeah, you're just there. Yeah, it's amazing. It's like mythology, you know. You're just like, wow, like these people, they look like fucking He-Man and shit, you know. It's like, they look like, I guess maybe kids look at like the Avengers these days, like I used to look at Iron Maiden. But the Avengers can't fucking play Rock in Rio, can they?
No, they can't.
No, to like 1 million people, I think it was, or something like that. You know, it's an insane amount.
Yeah. How was school? Was it something you enjoyed?
Oh yeah, it was all right. I went to private school, so there weren't any girls, which was, well, there was a girls' school nearby, which was okay. So there weren't no girls, but like I always think about that, and I'm just like, that sucks. I was like, thanks. Thanks for like hindering me. At university, definitely. I came to university just like fucking like Harry Potter. But yeah, it was a great school, man. It was like, you know, there was a good music school. It was Abingdon School. Well, I went to a bunch of good schools, but you know, it's weird there. It's like the emphasis is very much on like sport and like achievement. And if you're sort of middle of the road and everything like I was, you just get sort of swept aside a little bit. So it was like, it was all right, you know, super competitive. But I swear it's like, I hate competitiveness.
Yeah.
I hate it. I loathe it. And I think it put me off it for life.
Did you know what you wanted to do when you was at school?
No. Oh, I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Right.
But I mean, I loved Attenborough. He was like my absolute hero. Still is actually. But my chemistry teacher took me to one side and was like, "You'll never be a marine biologist. Like, you're terrible at biology."
Thanks, mate.
Like, well, he was just like, "I've got to be honest with you because it's heartbreaking." You know, he's like, "You don't have a mathematical mind. Like, you just know." He's like, "There's absolutely no way."
Yeah.
So the only way I've consoled myself, it's like I've just got to try and get like uber rich so I can buy my way onto like a research vessel, like a Steve Zissou sort of thing. I can finance it.
Yeah.
So it was the choice between geography or art, really. And I'd already joined a band actually then, so that was starting to happen. But I mean, like, never did I think that it would be like a job, you know.
But so you was quite a creative kid then?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was already like writing songs and stuff, like little ones.
But surely, I'm always interested when I set this podcast up. I set it up initially to base it on certain areas and how the area that you grew up in, coming from Essex, like the weight of the Prodigy and Depeche Mode and things like that hangs so heavy on sort of aspiring bands in our area.
Yeah.
And so I just wondered, like, being so close to Oxford, and I'm sure you've answered millions of questions about Oxford bands and things like that over the years. Like, but was there, like, when you saw Ride or you know, Supergrass and obviously Radiohead and things like that, did it make it? Did it never sort of make you think, oh, if they can do it, we can do it?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know any of those bands at school. Well, I knew Radiohead because they went to my school, but not when I was there. But like, there was this weight of Radiohead that was like, you have to like Radiohead.
Sure.
So I didn't. I never listened to them. I was just like, I actually turned down tickets to they played this big concert in South Park in Oxford, which is kind of legendary. It's like, I think pretty much the best show that ever happened in Oxford. And I turned down tickets to it, which like a few years later, when I was massively into Radiohead, it was like, oh, I was like listening to the bootleg. I'm like, you idiot. But yeah, definitely. As soon as I found out about all those bands, it was like, oh shit, time to up the game a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, didn't realise Oxford was quite so influential. You know?
But you mentioned that the school had a good music department. So was that side of your interest being supported and encouraged?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like well, I mean, I wouldn't say encouraged. I'm not sure. Like they'd allow you to like, yeah, you could have band practice. You know, they didn't
Yeah,
really like it, but you could have band practice, and there
yeah,
were like amplifiers, and you know, it was cool. Like they were definitely supportive of that. Like, and I
yeah,
think like sort of Radiohead as well. Like, I think there was some crossover with some teachers, and I think, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like if you know, I feel like in a school like that, you know, like you're so far down the ladder in the music department anyway. Even though that's fantastic, you know, and the classical stuff's always pretty amazing, and there's like a theatre hall and stuff. Still, I feel like, you know, you were not taken as seriously. So I feel like when a music teacher sees like any like flicker of talent, they're
yeah,
gonna like protect it with all they've got,
yeah,
because it'll, you know, it'll help them out as well.
yeah, absolutely.
I don't
Um,
know if they saw any talent with me, but not back
not in
then.
not in
We're
marine
just trying to like,
biology.
no, no, no.
um,
God.
I'd like to know for track 4, please, Jimmy, the first song you were buying from a record store.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll narrow this down. This is like the first 7-inch, the first like record I ever bought, like vinyl. And yeah, it's Golden Brown by the Stranglers, and I bought it in Whitby, at a little record store. I've no idea if it's still there. And yeah, and then I was just, and I heard it. You know, I'd always associate the Stranglers with being like these kind of like leery, like like sort of oi oi kind of like
Mm,
UK punk, you know. And then I was like, because I saw it, I was like, I don't know that song Golden Brown. I was like, I didn't know that was the Stranglers.
yeah,
It was just like, oh my god, and just made it so wonderful. I like put it on and it was just like, wow.
yeah.
Oh, and again, that's a perfect song. That was it. Yeah, we were listening to that in the dressing room in Newcastle, and that I
Yeah,
was like, that's a perfect song.
yeah.
They can't. Wouldn't change anything about it.
It's
It's
a
wonderful.
mad record, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it really is. It's just like, it's obviously just like a real fleeting like burst of imagination they had in
Yeah,
the studio. I don't know anything about the making of it, but
yeah.
this is when I find out that it's like a cover.
I'm sure
uh,
it's not.
but it's just, I love those songs. It's like every day. I love these special songs that just seem to like occupy an entire world on their own.
Yeah,
And that's another one, you know. And it's obviously like got intriguing lyrics that everyone likes to
yeah.
guess about, and it's all just like really cool. You know,
It's
it's like
weird, isn't it?
if heroin was a song, you know, it's like that, and like Perfect Day or anything by Lou Reed. You know, it's
100%.
like, you know,
Uh, and it's really weird that you mentioned like Golden Brown as being a perfect song, because it doesn't sound like anything else the Stranglers ever done. And I often sort of had this conversation when people mention certain songs that are super famous songs, but don't sound like anything else them bands have done. And they're the ones that, for me, How Soon Is
oh
Now doesn't sound like anything
yeah,
else
yeah,
the
yeah.
Smiths ever done. That's
Yeah,
pretty
it's true.
damn
Yeah,
perfect. Fool's
yeah, yeah.
Gold don't sound like
That
anything else the Stone Roses done. And
and
that's
that's
a
perfect.
fucking mental
Yeah, that's
record.
what I mean, man. There's just like these bursts of like
Yeah,
fucking perfection that people go through, where it
yeah,
all becomes clear. I think it's probably like that artist reaching like the absolute apex of their
yeah,
creativity, you know, and it's just like the end product is like a little diamond, isn't it?
yeah,
After all this like heat and work, and it's just
yeah,
like this perfect, like you've just made the perfect song, you know. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. All those ones you said, like they're all perfect songs.
yeah.
You know, you wouldn't touch them, you wouldn't go anywhere near them.
100%, 100%. Well, let's talk about record stores for just a little bit. And were they important places? As your taste developing music, and you was getting further and further into bands. And what's your relationship with like the independents now? As a band.
Well, yeah, yeah, of course, yeah, it was really important. Like, I got really into vinyl. I still am. So it was like, you know, growing up and like going, there was some good record stores in Oxford, like Massive Records on Gloucester Green, but they all closed unfortunately. But then another one opened up recently, fairly recently, Truck Records, which is great. And I feel like that seems to have happened across the UK a little bit, and America, where it's like where there would be like 5 record stores, which were all pretty good,
Mm.
but like, you know, maybe a bit frustrating. You know, the usual kind of, certainly when you go in, there's like, 150 Elvis bootlegs, and
Yeah,
then like some like 70s stuff that looks scary and like
yeah,
something like your parents would listen to. something you'd find in the loft that's
Yeah.
just like it's so rubbish, And then, but these days, I feel like they've all been like compiled into one record store, which is actually really amazing.
Yeah.
It's like whichever ones are left, there's never been better record stores anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like so, and we still try and support them. We try and do like special editions, like for Asai Records in Edinburgh. They do like a cool like Japanese, it looks like a Japanese import thing. We did loads of stuff for them. So and Banquet Records and like Rough Trade in stores. Like it's great. Like and I'm really glad that like music may be changing and maybe becoming way more of a sort of shit show.
Yeah.
And who knows what's going to happen? But like at least people are buying records. At least the romance side of things is picking up. And same with record stores. I feel like the ones that are around and they're doing well. I think. Yeah, which is great.
Let's take your clubbing for track 5, and the song that soundtracked your year's clubbing, please, Jimmy.
Well, I'll do the honourable mention first because I feel like I would say "Born Slippy" by Underworld here because that's sort of like that. I heard that as a kid, and if I hear it now, it still makes me want to go like bananas.
I had Darren Emerson on last week who wrote that. And
it's so good. I think it's overlooked because of its simplicity.
That's an intro.
Yeah, that's exactly. That intro doesn't make you want to go clubbing. Like, then you're not right.
Yeah, totally.
But so that's the honourable mention, and that would be that the euphoric night out soundtrack definitely would be that. But I will say, if more related to the band, I would say Plumbicon by Monolake. Which is I don't think anyone's ever heard of it. I certainly hadn't. And it's like, it's proper minimal techno is what it is. It sort of does exactly what it says on the tin. And it was really, you can definitely hear elements of Foals in it, I think, because it was one of those things we almost studied in the early, like the formative year of Foals. And we were like, let's try and do something like this on guitar. And it's all like the polyrhythms, but then like, the gaps in between the beats that you're hearing anyway. I don't know. It's like, how simple can you make something that still gives off loads of energy? I feel like it's like, and that's very much in our DNA. So and it's like, and on a cracking sound system, like somewhere in Berlin or something. Like that song sounds amazing. And if if you're stimulated enough, you can. It's incredible. It sounds like alien music or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Was clubbing something that you was big on?
Sort of. I've got an on-off relationship with dancing. I don't really like it. It's I've sort of come to terms with it now, and I just think I just don't like it. I get too embarrassed. But it's certainly like late night in a nightclub, I've thrown caution to the wind, and I've massively loved it. So I understand it. I've had some amazing nights. Also like at on tour and stuff when we play festivals. Some of them have got like full-blown nightclubs inside the festival, like Glastonbury and Coachella and all these places. So it's like seems pretty like Underworld. I've seen them loads of times. And it's just amazing. It's like, oh man, So but not hot on the dancing, to be honest.
Well, that kind of brings me on to the next thing, really, which is. You say that you're a bit self-conscious dancing and things like that. Like, tell me about your relationship with confidence, because you walk on stage in front of fucking shitloads of people. More so that you're going to get, looking at you throwing a few shapes on a nightclub floor. What's your relationship with confidence?
Oh, it's so weird, man. I'm just trying to figure it out. It's all gone. We played the shows. We were back on tour, and I've been thinking about doing that for so long, and I'm just like. And it was so, I don't know, it was really easy, and I've got loads of confidence, and I'm just like, what? I thought it'd be the other way around. I don't know, man. Like, I certainly, it's much harder to play with fewer people. We're in a small room with people really watching you. That I feel like that is scarier than it's more abstract when it's massive. I really like huge shows because it's like I don't know, you can sort of save yourself in the atmosphere. I don't know what it is. And obviously, small shows you can just close your eyes and just dine off the energy in a small show. That's easy as well. Yeah, I don't know, because I'm not like confident at all, really.
Yeah. What about as a kid?
A fan told me off the other day for like not being like. I'm not realizing how big the shows were or something. I was just like, I was just knackered. I was just really tired. I was just like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know what's going on, Anyway, no, I was not confident as a kid. I was very shy,
No.
very,
Okay.
very shy. I was very shy up until I joined Foals, actually, and then they put a rocket up my ass whether I liked it or not, and that was the end of that. They lit the fuse and stood well back.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, track 6. I'm going to take you home. Favourite song from an artist from your home county, please.
Well, it's got to be "Let Down" by Radiohead,
That's
which is probably my favourite song of all time. That's a tough competition, but I think, and it's just again, back of Dad's car, but this time like not listening to what Dad was listening to my own stuff on headphones, and I can remember it now going up this hill, and I'd heard it before, but it was just that one listen. It's a perfect song again, and it's just so beautiful, and it opened up this world and this door to another flipping world basically, and I just like put one leg in, and that's it. Again, I don't know if that hadn't happened, would I be here now? But I don't know, probably not. I don't know. It was that inspirational. Like it's really like it makes me basically want to cry when I hear it because it's gaining more and more meaning, just because of what it did to me. I love it. Yeah, and it's such a beautiful song.
Oh, it's an absolute cracker, mate. We just touched on confidence there, and also I want to touch on something else now that Foals have been smashing it for years now, and that's not an easy thing to do in the music industry. That's a tough industry to maintain the levels of success that you have.
Yeah.
Tell me about Drive.
Well, man, you got to ask Yanis about that.
Okay, I'm asking you. I want to know your relationship with Drive.
I'm driven. Driven, definitely. Like, like these eternal struggles, like trying to write the perfect pop song or play the perfect live show. We're not perfectionists. We're not like Rain Man.
Yeah.
But like still, it's like, it's like there's always stuff that could be done better.
Yeah.
And it's like, in fact, actually, I don't know, like this tour feels different. It feels like we've kind of like, it all feels like it's come together finally in a crazy way, like with this new light show. But like, I mean, Yanis is the most driven person I've ever met. And he still is, basically. He's still like flipping. He has so much coffee. I don't know how. I don't know how he does it. I just don't know how he does it. I don't have the same energy levels. Yeah. I'm quite happy to let stuff go by, float on by. I'm like, I can't be bothered with that. And they're like, but it's this much money. I'm like, where is it? I'm like, nah. That sounds shit. I don't care how much money. And then it's like I end up playing it, and I'm like, fuck. Well, whatever. Now they know because they're on the email.
You've got to save all the money you can, mate. You've got to do your marine biology course. You've got to buy your way onto that.
Oh, I know. How am I going to get on the research vessel in the Galapagos Islands? Exactly. I'm trying to live within my means until I can blow it all on that.
Wonderful. All right, it's your last track, mate. For that last track, this is when you get to play tastemaker, or as the youth call it, influencer.
Is it? Oh dear.
You made it, mate. You're an influencer.
This is a weird influencer, then. Well,
can you tell me a song that you think many people haven't heard that you would like them to hear, please, mate?
Yeah, well, this song, this is quite a long list of songs. I feel like because these are the songs I really love.
From out there.
Well, I mean, I can only think of two. Well, the one I've written down, and then the honourable mention would be this guy Julian Lynch in this song called Rancher, and it's just like this super weird little song, beautiful, lovely little song. So everyone should listen to that. I think you can get it on iTunes. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Or Spotify, whatever. Other horrible thing we used to listen to music on. Anyway, but the winner of this week is Wild Pack of Family Dogs by Modest Mouse. And Modest Mouse are a weird band. I think some people don't like them because they're a bit too weird, maybe. People are quite hard to put their finger on what it actually is that makes Modest Mouse so good. But this, I feel like, is a perfect little window into Isaac, the singer's mind. And it's such a weird little song, and it's absolutely packed with meaning and imagery, and it's just, I struggle with listening to lyrics. Like when I hear music for the first time, I find like the lyrics sort of come in like a week later.
Mm-hmm.
Once I've sort of gorged on the music, then the lyrics are like the pudding, But with this, I was just like, the imagery of, he's talking about this, once he dies, these dogs floating up to the glowing sky. And it's all just this like death, like there's so much death and like mystery and like hardship and remorse and wonder in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It might not even be 2 minutes. I think it might be on minute 30 or something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, if you can do that, then, you're just like, I respect you, I respect that stuff just the most. Like, I love like folk music and people who just play on their own. It's like I admire stand-up comedians in the same way. It's just like, wow, like that is like the pinnacle of entertainment in a sense. Anyway, it's just a wonderful, weird little song, and I'm so glad it exists.
Well, Jimmy, we put together a playlist to accompany the podcast with all your choices on, and we'll throw your honourable mentions on there, and obviously we put some Foals stuff on there as well. As the rest of this year is gathering pace quickly, and it's far more connected, and we appear to be saying goodbye to a pandemic, however you want to view that. But we're seeing festivals, gigs, and everything returning to some kind of normality, which is lovely. What are you looking forward to from the rest of this year personally, and what's going to be happening professionally?
Well, they're both tied together.
Every musician says that. Every musician says that.
Well, it is, isn't it? There isn't, because it's not like a job, but it is sometimes. I don't know. Well, I mean, personally, I'm looking forward to seeing my girlfriend again, because she just got on the plane like yesterday, and I won't see her for 3 months. So, I can't wait to get back to California and get a house or rent a house and further my life over there. I cannot wait. That's the dream. And in order to achieve the dream, I have to put coal in the furnace, and that's and then that's touring with the band. But I've got to say, it's just like we've just done 10 shows or something like that, and it's been the best. And I'm sorry to Walter and Edwin, and there's been some enormous highlights, but I've never felt so good. And it's just like the energy is great, and we've got Glastonbury coming up, which is definitely my highlight of the year anyway. So the fact that we've got a very nice slot as well, the one I've always wanted. It's flipping serendipity, man. And so I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to that every show we've got in the calendar. I feel like we're going to just blow the lid off most places. Because I don't know what's going on at the moment, because we've been lying on our sofas for 2 years. We've got all this energy.
100%.
It's like, come see us while we've got energy. We'll be knackered next year.
Oh, lovely. Jimmy, it's been a real pleasure talking records with you, mate. Thanks loads for your time.
I loved it, man. It's great.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, look, we'll put the episode out soon. And if people want to keep up to speed with everything that's happening with Foals and tour dates, I mean, you ain't got to look too far, right? I don't know why I'm going to ask you to tell me that. It's going to be on all the socials.
Wrong person to ask. I would say head to the website. That's what I tell everybody.
Perfect.
I feel like the website is the most reliable source of information as to what's going on with shows, and there isn't any cancellations anymore. Lovely. Which is pretty nice. We've all been sick of these cancellations.
Absolutely.
Everything getting shit canned all the time. So finally, the tour is happening, and it's on the website. I don't know what's going on. It feels all new to me.
Oh, mate, I wish you all the best with the tour and the record. And thanks again, Jimmy, for coming on. It's been a real joy chatting tunes with you, mate.
Thanks, man. See you soon.
I'm going to press stop right now.
All right, man.